It's the PMP Industry Insider Podcast. I'm Brett, the editor, and you're on another edition of Insider's Rewind. If it's your first time on the show, welcome. We put an episode like this together once per month to look back at the month prior and pick some of the most impactful moments and give them a replay. The PMP Industry Insider Podcast is brought to you each week by our friends at Coalmarch. The busy season is in full swing, and if you want to come out of the season stronger, there's one name you need to know: Coalmarch. From digital strategy to conversion-driven websites, Coalmarch helps pest and green businesses scale smarter, and right now they have a great offer for you. They're offering the first month free for podcast listeners, and you can visit coalmarch.com/podcast to claim that offer today. Next up is PestSure. They specialize in pest industry-specific insurance with program lines for general liability, automotive liability, and much more. You can visit PestSure.com for more information. And finally is Voice for Pest. They specialize in voice solutions for the pest and lawn industry. Visit voiceforpest.com/podcast to learn more about how they can integrate voice solutions for your home service company. And also, not to forget, peer groups. Episode 136 has tons of details for you, and it'll let you know exactly how these peer groups work. They're facilitated by David Billingsley, which Dan and Donnie have mentioned to have back on the show, I should say, soon. So if you're looking to get more information, episode 136 has it, and keep an eye out for the possibility of David Billingsley coming back aboard the show to talk a little bit more about it, give us some updates. New episodes of the PMP Industry Insider Podcast drop on Thursdays, unless we run into a major holiday. We'll take off Independence Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. But June was full month. We're going to start with episode 229, What's Trending in Commercial Insurance. The COO of PestSure is Todd Burke, and he was aboard the show, and he provided an update on the commercial insurance market, but also talked about challenges like difficulties in insurance, in particular auto insurance, and that's where we'll stop today. From June 5th, episode 229, What's Trending in Commercial Insurance with Todd Burke.
And it's rear end collisions, by the way, is what we're trying to eliminate, because that's the majority, 50% or more of our accidents are rear end collisions. So if we can just focus on that area and eliminate 100 accidents a year across the board or whatever it is or more, that's a significant number. And that's what we're trying to do. And most everybody is really thinks that's a great idea and is adopting it with no problem. And, we're seeing it. And I think that's where these auto carriers, these other insurance companies they're going to head that way too. I mean, I don't know about your personal insurance or what, but we've heard rumblings in the industry that, we might be a little bit ahead of ourselves here with our trend that we're setting on the sell-free zone. But I think it's going to end up being, I bet, unless something happens with tort reform or whatever, I think all insurance companies are trying to come up with the best way to reduce claims. And I'm not saying that would be every company will do it, but I think you'll see more and more of that.
Well, one thing I want to mention is, if you're listening to this, and I mean, what we've experienced here at Triangle is, just drive down the road and watch. I mean, how many times is it not daily you're seeing someone that doesn't start from the light, like the light turns green and they're sitting there for another 2 minutes or however long it takes? Or you're watching someone swerving. So I say all that to say this. Most of the technicians that are coming in, assuming that they're new, they've not been in the industry, you have to train them because they're used to using the phone on the line. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this is totally new behavior where it's like, what do you mean I can't use my phone when I'm driving? And it's scary. Like I used to bike. I don't bike anymore, not on the road, for that very reason. It scares the crap out of me. Like I see how people drive right now, and I'm like, there's no way. Now luckily there's like there's like a trail near my office and my house I'll bike on. But here's my point that I'm trying to make for our listeners, which is this, is that you really need to pay attention to this because you want to make sure that you can remain insurable. And listen, it's not far-fetched to say if I can't get auto or I have to go to wholesale to get auto, you might very well be out of business. I don't know how many people can afford a $500,000 renewal. Not too many people can. And having said that, it's a simple thing as having a training program, enforcing it, right? There's the training part of it, and then there's the enforcing side of it. To realize that, this is insurance is something that it's never sexy. It's not anything that most people want to spend a ton of time on. But the reality of it is that, it's something that can sink your business if you don't manage it.
From episode 229 with PestSure's Todd Burke, another great section of that involved novice drivers and insurance companies realizing that kids aren't getting their licenses until later in life, which means less experience when they're hired. We're going to move on now to episode 230 with Seth Watson. The episode topic was untapped talent, how a VA can help you grow. And Seth has a great story about his VA, Maria, and the amazing things that she's been able to do and the rate at which she's been able to do them. So Seth owns a company. It's called Focus Virtual Assistants. And on their website, you can learn how to save thousands by hiring a VA. And let's learn more about Maria and how Focus Virtual Assistants got it started.
Maria was our first hire. And I'm like, okay, all you're going to do is take our marketing calls, make sure they're tagged, fill out these reports for me, just busy work. I'm like, I don't want her on the phone. And she does have a light accent. And a couple of weeks later, we're missing calls. And so my team's like, Seth, she knows Brio Stack better than any of us because she's always running your reports. Is like, just have her answer the phone. I'm like, okay, don't freaking ask me again. We'll do overflow, right? If it doesn't go after 5-6 rings, then have Maria pick it up and at least just get their information and you call them back. They're like, okay, easy. So this goes by. I think nothing of it. She's working for me for a couple months. I shoot over an email to my manager and I said, hey, it's about Tuesday. I said, hey, I need to get this report back. It might've been, hey, collections. I can't remember what it was. And she's like, I'll get it to you by Friday. And I'm like, Friday? Like, what do you mean Friday? So I shoot it over to Maria and I'm like, hey, can I get this? 30 minutes later, I have the report back. It's better than my manager's does. And I'm like, how could she do that in 30 minutes? And I look at her calls. She's taking 80 to 90 calls a day, more than anyone. And she's getting these reports back to me. And that was kind of when the light bulb went off. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm onto something here, right? Mm-hmm. And so slowly as people left, I just replaced them with a VA. And then a couple of years ago, I got really passionate. Like, this is something every business needs. So I called Jacob and I said, dude, like, how's this going? And he's just like, yeah, it's good, kind of have slow growth. And I said, let me buy in. So I bought the customer base. We rebranded. Jake and I partnered and we started Virtual Focus about 18 months ago. And now we have hundreds and hundreds of VAs working with pest control companies. I mean, we have lots of them, but I mean, we probably have 200 VAs just in the pest control industry alone. And so I kind of stumbled into it, saw it as a great need, and it was like, this is something that everybody should be benefiting from. So that's how, long story, that's how I got into it.
From June 12th, episode 230 with Seth Watson, he also mentioned why VAs are a really good fit specifically for pest and lawn. You can listen back in full at pmpindustryinsider.com. Tons of information on every episode over there as well. Moving on to episode 231 now with the client success team lead at Comarch, Janelle Lucas. The topic on this episode is the biggest marketing mistakes noticed in the pest and lawn industry. So online reviews are huge in both of the industries mentioned, and review generation is a big topic in this episode. Let's check it out.
This might be a bit dramatic, but I'm just going to say it. I think review generation is the most overlooked area, missed blind spot, if you will, across our client base from what I've seen. And it's not that they don't have enough reviews. It's not that they've overlooked this entirely, but maintaining a consistent effort and getting reviews constantly and weekly and monthly, ones that are positive, that have keywords within them, that is something that should be prioritized because it, of course, affects people's impression of your brand, but it affects your ranking, not only organically, it's a factor organically, but it affects your local service ads too. So I've seen clients with a big budget for Google local service ads, and I've seen us pull all the stops and we have the right setup and they still are showing below competitor A and competitor B. And the only piece that we can connect is that our clients has, say, a 4-star rating and maybe a couple hundred reviews, and the competitor A and B, those guys have thousands of reviews and maybe a 4.5 or 4.8 star rating. So it's a gap, it's a blind spot, it's something that could plug a hole, so to speak, or a leak in your marketing.
I want to add a little bit to this because if you're listening to this and you've not been consistent at review generation, there are tons of solutions out there. And this is one of those things where you just need to turn it into a system and manage it. Probably about 2 years ago, we really started paying attention to this, and it's not difficult. It just needs to be part of for us, it's a system now. It's managed pretty well. And we went from having 1,000 reviews. Now we got over 13,000 in just the Raleigh market. And so, the reality of it is, and I say 13,000, I'm talking about across all pieces here, not just like if someone goes to my one list, they're going to be like, I thought he doesn't have 13. No, we don't, but the collective we do. So my point here is that, the fact.
Little fake news.
Yeah, a little fake news. If you go to one
Attaboy.
specific listing, no, it's not going to show that many, but the collective, it will. And so what I'm saying here is this, is that I agree with Janelle on this. It's like the consistency is what matters.
We're moving into the final episode of June, titled From Authority to Ownership, Leadership from the Trenches. Dan and Donnie, they're solo on this episode, talking about their experiences as owners, and they provide us with tips on how to be good leaders in your business.
You can certainly get to a certain level, just, servicing accounts and doing your thing. But as the business gets larger, the need for leadership gets greater and greater. And I think that's because of the level of chaos that's associated with scaling a business. It's just massive chaos. And the part that's overlooked the most, and listen, we struggle with this. So if you're listening to this and you think I have things figured out, I'm talking from doing things wrong and messing this up. The part that I feel like a lot of people struggle with, and I would put Triangle in this category, is that, teaching frontline and middle managers real leadership skills, because it gets very difficult to do in the midst of the chaos, right? I say this all the time, right? We all want to talk about leadership, and then we all want to have personal growth, and there's all these things that we want to do. But the fact is day-to-day business, you got to make the sausage, right? We got to go out and we got to service stops, and we got to take care of customers. And it gets very, very easy to forget how critical it is to teach people those skills, because listen, they don't come in baked with those things. Some do, but I think it's a lot less common than most believe or even think. And so to your point, Dan, I think, when you're smaller, this is not as big of an issue. And a lot of times it's because the entrepreneur is so involved in the business, like they can just make things happen, right? It's like, this did happen, I can go, I'll actually go out and service that account, or I'll go and do that. And when you get larger, like your skill set has to completely change, and you have to be all about people. And I mean that, like legitimately, I mean that, like you're all about people. That's all you really should be concerned with. And some people never make that transition, right? They want to talk about chemical, they want to get into the P&L, they want to get into these other things. And not that those things aren't important, but a real leader understands their role is nothing but people. That's all they do. Is the right person in the right seat? Do they get it? Have the capacity to do it? Do they live our values? And are they going to get us to the next level? Those are really the conversations that you should be having with yourself. So leadership is the foundation, is number one.
Episode 232 from June 26, bringing a close to Insiders Rewind, recapping June. Resources are available online at pmpindustryinsider.com. You can also stay up to date on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. Be sure to give us a follow there if you haven't already. And also leave us a review. It helps push the show up a little bit higher each time, and it'll get in front of other eyes in the industry to help them along. I'm Brett, the editor. I'll be back in early August to do this all again. Thank you for listening. Take care.